Most travelers visit Vietnam for Halong Bay and the street food of Hanoi. But beyond the famous limestone cliffs, there are mountain villages wrapped in fog, caves large enough to swallow skyscrapers, river systems that function like highways, and regions where daily life moves at a completely different rhythm. And most visitors never go that far. Vietnam isn't just a destination. It's a gradient from north to south. A country where elevation, climate, and culture shift every few hundred miles. Where what you experience in one region becomes almost unrecognizable in another. What people think Vietnam is. When people picture Vietnam, they see motorbikes weaving through traffic, bowls of pho steaming on sidewalks, and lantern-lit streets. And that version exists. It's real, it's accessible, it's what fills most itineraries. But Vietnam stretches over 1,000 miles from north to south. The climate changes, the landscape changes, even the pace changes. What works as a mental image of Vietnam is only a fraction of what's actually there. Once you move beyond the main stops, the country shifts. The air cools as you climb into the highlands. The rivers widen as you descend into the delta. The architecture transforms from Chinese-influenced to French colonial to modern glass towers. Vietnam doesn't present itself all at once. It reveals itself in layers. And the deeper you travel, the more those layers diverge from the postcard version most people expect. Sappa and the northern highlands. In the north, near the Chinese border, Sappa rises into cooler air. Rice terraces curve around mountains like carved steps. These aren't ornamental, they're functional. They've been shaped over centuries by communities who depend on them. Villages sit high above valleys, often wrapped in mist. This isn't tropical Vietnam. It feels remote, elevated, almost alpine in certain seasons. The terrain dictates life here. Water is channeled carefully. Planting seasons follow strict cycles. Movement between villages requires stamina. In Sappa, you're not just visiting a scenic overlook. You're entering a working landscape where geography defines everything. The northern highlands operate on their own logic. Cooler temperatures mean different crops. Higher elevations mean different construction methods. Ethnic minority groups maintain distinct languages and traditions. This is Vietnam at its most vertical, where terraces stack like architecture and clouds sit below you rather than above. Halong Bay and beyond. Halong Bay is Vietnam's most photographed landscape. Limestone pillars rise directly from the sea. From a distance, it looks dramatic. Up close, it feels silent. The formations create natural corridors. Water flows between them without resistance. But beyond the main cruise routes, quieter sections exist. Less traffic, more space. Places where the only sound is your boat cutting through still water. This is where the scale becomes clearer. Halong Bay isn't a single viewpoint. It's a sprawling network of islands, caves, and channels. Some sections see hundreds of boats daily. Others remain nearly untouched. The difference depends entirely on how far you're willing to venture from the standard routes. What most people photograph from a deck is only the entrance. The bay extends much further. And in those farther reaches, the experience shifts from spectacle to stillness, from crowded to solitary. The limestone remains, the water remains, but the atmosphere changes completely. Phong Nha and the caves. In central Vietnam, the ground opens. Phong Nha is home to some of the largest caves on Earth. Inside, ceilings rise higher than buildings. Rivers flow through darkness. This isn't decorative geology. It's massive, industrial-scale natural architecture. Some chambers are large enough to hold entire city blocks. Others require technical climbing to access. The caves of Phong Nha were only mapped in recent decades. And what lies beneath is as varied as what's visible on the surface. Underground rivers carve new passages annually. Stalactites form at rates measured in millennia. Ecosystems develop in complete darkness. Phong Nha isn't a single cave. It's a system. A reminder that Vietnam's geography operates at scales most travelers never consider. Most visitors leave Vietnam thinking they've seen it. But the deeper you travel, the more it shifts. If you're drawn to destinations beyond the obvious, this channel is built for that. We focus on the parts of places that don't fit into quick summaries. the regions that require movement, the landscapes that demand time. Subscribe if that's the kind of travel that appeals to you. The Mekong Delta, southern Vietnam. In the south, the Mekong Delta feels completely different. Rivers replace roads. Markets float. Houses sit along narrow canals, accessible only by boat. Life here follows the water. Tides dictate schedules. River levels determine what's reachable. This is Vietnam at its slowest. Not in a stagnant way, in a deliberate way. Everything moves, but nothing rushes. The delta is flat, vast, dense with vegetation. From above, it looks like a network of veins. From the water, it feels like a maze. Neither fully one nor the other. And because of that, it functions unlike anywhere else in Vietnam. Movement is slower. Distances feel longer. Everything requires coordination with the river's rhythm. Ho Chi Minh City and urban contrast. Ho Chi Minh City moves faster. Glass towers rise beside colonial buildings. Traffic never fully stops. Motorbikes fill every available inch of road. Yet in side streets, daily life remains grounded. Coffee shops stay full. Markets stay loud. The contrast isn't subtle. You can stand in a modern shopping district and walk 5 minutes into a neighborhood that operates as it has for decades. Vietnam balances rapid growth with tradition. Not perfectly, not without tension. But the balance exists. The city doesn't segregate old and new into separate districts. They coexist, they overlap. And that overlap defines the energy of southern Vietnam's largest urban center, food beyond pho. Vietnamese food changes by region. In the north, flavors are lighter. Broths are clearer. Seasoning is restrained. Herbs are used sparingly. In central Vietnam, dishes become spicier. Chili appears more frequently. Flavors intensify. In the south, sweetness appears more often. Palm sugar, coconut milk, and tropical fruit influence the cuisine. Fresh herbs define almost every meal. Mint, cilantro, Thai basil, sawtooth coriander. They're not garnishes. They're structural. Hot and cold, soft and crisp, rich and acidic. Every dish contains built-in balance. Why travelers are exploring beyond the highlights. Vietnam has become more accessible. Better trains and buses connect the length of the country. Sleeper buses run overnight between major cities. Trains follow the coast. Budget flights link north and south in under 2 hours. Instead of flying in and out of one city, more travelers are moving through it. North to south, mountain to delta, highland to coast. The contrast is the appeal. And because infrastructure has improved steadily over the past decade, that movement has become easier. This isn't a country where you need to choose one region. It's a country where the regions are different enough to justify visiting all of them. Who this side of Vietnam is for. This side of Vietnam is for travelers who want variety in one journey, for those willing to move, for people who don't mind stepping beyond the main tourist routes. If you want coastline, it's here. If you want mountains, it's here too. If you want cities, jungles, rivers, caves, rice fields, or beaches, Vietnam contains all of them. But accessing that variety requires intention. You won't stumble into Phong Nha by accident. You won't end up in the Mekong Delta unless you plan for it. Vietnam rewards travelers who research, who ask locals, who extend their stay by a few extra days to reach something less accessible. This isn't a country that reveals itself passively. It requires engagement. Vietnam isn't just Halong Bay or busy streets. It's mountain terraces, underground rivers, floating markets, and cities balancing old and new. It's a country where every region operates on different logic. And once you move beyond the obvious stops, you realize how much more there is. How much depth exists in a country most people think they understand from a week-long visit. Subscribe for more journeys beyond the tourist version. What part of Vietnam would you explore first?